All right, we got a White-Westinghouse, even though it doesn't look white at all. How's it going, guys? Son of Radio 1 here, hosting for at least until Michael gets back the final time on this series, along with
Alex.
And we have probably the weirdest and probably the shittiest radio I've ever seen. And you'll see why I say that as we do this episode, because in this episode of Radio Reviews, we will be taking a look at at something that kind of reminds you of a refrigerator for some freaking reason. We will be taking a look at the White-Westinghouse as opposed to the other Westinghouse, WCR11570. God help me. So, this thing looks just like your stereotypical bedside alarm clock. Just like the realistic radio over there.
Just like the,
Jesus Christ, excuse me.
Just like the First Alert WX37.
That too, and the 39 for that matter, since the 39 and 37 pretty much share the same body.
Yep.
But, yeah, this thing looks pretty much like your stereotypical bedside alarm clock. You got your snooze button up here. You got your sleep timer button, you got your clock and wake buttons here, forward and reverse, which is for setting the time, and you have your weather standby switch up here. You have off, alert standby, and you have the weather switch here. And on the bottom here, you have your switch to test the siren, and you have your channel switch here too.
And the model number, of course.
Yeah. On the side here, you have your tuning for AM and FM, your volume switch, and the slider for AM and FM. And on the side here, you have your dual alarm clock option, and you have the buzz, auto, on, off options here for the alarm clock.
In the back, you have nothing, just the antenna holder.
Just the antenna and the power cord, which is like hardwired into the radio.
Yep.
So, other than that, like, if you looked at this from a distance and like didn't notice anything from the top, you could probably just guess this is like a standard bedside alarm clock, nothing else. But yeah, this thing has a lot of questionable things to it, and we're gonna start first with the Siren Test. Okay, so the Siren Test. So I'm gonna try and film this and be as brief as possible because this thing is loud. But to activate the Siren Test, you gotta flip the radio on its side and flip this little black switch on the bottom that has the alert test switch on here. I'm gonna try and do this one-handed, but oh, I think it has to be an alert standby in order for it to.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again. Ow.
Yep, it's fucking loud.
Yeah, and you probably saw this too, but the alert standby light was blinking as the siren was being tested.
Mm-hmm. It blinks.
Which that is kind of cool, but
it's not as cool as, say, the First Alert WX37
or the 39s, really.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's kind of mid in all honesty, but yeah, that's pretty much the Siren Test. Just like basically take an Eton FR1, which was reviewed like in the very beginning of season 14, and just turn it down like a whole semitone or two in terms of pitch.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what this siren is. And obviously it's 1050 hertz activated because there's no way a same radio with a display like this could be possible, unless the display was like all digital, like dot matrix or whatever, like on the 262.
Unless the alert light was like blinking, like it changed colors, like watch or statement or ready or something like that.
Like I can see, like, this will probably sound cursed coming from me, but I can see red, orange, and yellow being used for warning, watch, and advisory, and then I can see like a white alert light being used for the 1050.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how I see it personally. And of course, there's severe weather going on back in my home area. Fucking beautiful.
Bruh.
But yeah, so now that we pretty much covered the alert test, let's talk about something that immensely bothers me.
The buttons.
So you're probably wondering why I'm aiming up here. So in order to set the time on here, you have to press and hold this clock button, and then either the forward or reverse buttons. See, the problem with that is it moves so freaking fast. It's like it's painstaking how fast this thing moves.
Yep. And then you have the reverse.
Yeah, at least this has a freaking reverse, but it feels like. Wait, are these pressure sensitive, or am I tripping?
I hope they aren't. I can barely see back there.
It's like, I think the reverse button is like glitched out, because like it goes slow then fast and slow and fast. But
Oh
the
wait,
forward...
it just skipped from 4 to 1. It just did it again. What the fuck? Okay, yeah,
Right,
it is.
yeah, 'cause
Yep.
Probably because it's like...
What? Oh.
God help me. This thing... This... I do not like the way that you have to set the time on this. I do not.
It is painful. There are exceptions to when you do not have to change the time on this. This is an exception because this is painstakingly just difficult. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I completely understand why people do not set the fucking time on that thing. Besides, you know, if you want an alarm. But then again, the alarm on that thing is also loud too. Like just as loud as a siren. It skipped again.
Okay, at least you can press it and then change it by itself. That's a plus. But Jesus Christ, it changes like by the freaking minute. My brother in Christ, please end my suffering. And yes, I am going out of my way to do this. I do not care. You can watch this digits go all the way back to fucking 0 for all I care. I really do not care. I am including this in there.
Oh my gosh. Is this on like the PM light?
Yeah, the PM light's on. But
Okay. Oh my god.
all right, I'm getting close. I'm getting close.
You're like 3 minutes away. Yep.
All right, I'm just gonna set this there because it just turned half past the minute. So yeah, so that's how freaking annoying the time setting is on there.
Yep.
Let's.
I can completely understand why people just straight up do not set the clock on that thing. Because it's like the realistic 12-153, where it'll literally dent your fingers.
See, at least these have like clicky buttons.
Uh-huh.
That I will say. It's just like holding it where it'll dent your fingers. With the realistic over there, you literally have to hold it no matter what.
Yup.
This at least gives you the liberty of just like clicking to go slow or just holding it to go fast. That'll give the Westinghouse credit for. Mm-hmm. But what I won't give this thing credit for is how jank the speaker quality is, and we will be getting into that right now.
What I will say is be prepared, like your ears, be prepared for your ears, because this right here is quite possibly the worst speaker quality you will ever see on radio reviews. Oh, jeez.
Rise in the mid-80s. Split rate 30%. Sunday night, mostly cloudy.
That's what I've always
Showers
questioned.
and thunderstorms in the evening, and a chance of showers after midnight.
I would not even buy that based on the quality alone. My WR300 over there is a better quality.
Yeah, granted it's a newer radio, but like you would expect something better out of a radio like that. And here's my 310 for comparison.
Storms in the afternoon. Highs in the mid-80s. Chance of rain 40%. Now looking at the weather patterns affecting the southern Great Lakes and Ohio Valley region.
A cold front will move through recent today and be southeast of the area by the evening.
This was getting interference just from my 310 being on.
Near average temperatures to the area. Here are the 1 p.m. weather conditions.
On the fair skies, the temperature was 85 degrees, the dew point 60. It's 16 miles an hour.
And this is not bleed through. Keep in mind, this is not bleed through.
This is on Channel 4.
And now the conditions for selected cities in Ohio and Indiana. In Wilmington Fair,
Let's see, I'm gonna set this down real quick so I can change the channel.
What the fuck? It sounds big crushed.
It's on channel 3 right now.
Today, sunny.
Channel 4,
Highs in the mid-80s.
channel 5. Imagine making a radio so jank that even when we're getting a radio station with its transmitter being like 20 minutes away from here, it sounds like freaking the tuner is dying.
Yep.
And the tuner isn't dying, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to be hearing it as badly distorted as it is. Because God help me if the tuner on this thing is dying and the speaker sounds like that.
Yep. I mean, literally, the speaker quality is so fucking bad that it has refused to activate for any alert that has been issued while I've owned this thing.
Yeah, and speaking of that, let's talk about the reception on here. This will already be a fucking L rank. I can just smell it from here.
Yep.
I can already smell the L's just pouring out of this radio. Okay, so reception. Channel 4.
Thunderstorms. Highs in the mid-80s.
Yes, that just fine.
Chance of rain 40%. Sunday night, mostly cloudy. A chance of
That's what
showers
I'm-
and thunderstorms.
Okay, I think this is... Okay, that's channel 1. Channel 2.
I can tell that
3.
Thunderstorms in the afternoon.
4.
Highs in the mid-80s.
5.
Ohio. Broadcasting on a frequency of 162.475 megahertz and serving the Miami Valley of Ohio and the Whitewater Valley of East Central Indiana. This broadcast originates from the National Weather Service Office of Wilmington, Ohio. Now looking at the weather pattern.
This thing bleeds through. I mean, granted, we're close to the transmitter, but this thing bleeds through on every single freaking frequency almost. This is from like, it bled through on channel 1, 2, and 3.
What about 7?
I think
Into the area.
it is. It's bleeding through on 7. My good Christ.
1 to 3 feet. Tonight, west winds 5 to 10
I'm
knots.
suffering.
This radio makes me want to commit a series of war crimes right now.
Dude, I was like, oh cool, this is a front-facing radio, just a small radio, kind of like the bedside clock design thingy, and yet it performs so miserably that it refuses to activate on any alert that has ever been issued. since I got that thing.
This thing's a disgrace. And I can only imagine the AM/FM is probably going to be worse. God help me. You know what? Just for shits and giggles, I'm doing that. I don't care if it's a common feature. I really want to just tear this radio to shreds. Okay, so the AM and FM on here, I believe. How do you turn that on?
Let's see here. I couldn't figure it out for a second.
So it's literally the same as like the frickin' WX37.
Yeah. Kind of, where it's like really, really sensitive to tuning. Is the volume up or? Oh. It's that bad?
Progressive can not only offer you a great price when you bundle home and auto, they offer you round-the-clock protection. Something you probably don't know.
It sounds decent on FM. What the fuck?
3mm aluminum panels. Something you probably do know, your neighbor likes to tinker with his dirt bike. Something you probably don't know, a runaway dirt bike can take out your garage door and a good portion of your car bumper. Bundle your home and auto with Progressive and get more than a great price. Get round-the-clock protection. Something you know for the things you don't know.
Okay, so AM for some reason, FM sounds for some reason decent, but
AM is a different story. What the fuck?
What is that on your phone?
It's possessed. It's possessed.
did someone leave their dying child inside of this radio?
Si chiamava Satchel Paige, allora i brani si sono andati nello spogliatoio.
Picking in excessive satch. No one's ever pitched a Wednesday's 47. How do you feel about pitching a win on your birthday?
Tutti hanno detto nessuno c'è mai riuscito a fare questo a 47 anni. Come ti senti averlo fatto il giorno del tuo compleanno?
Oh.
Okay, so you press the clock button to turn off the AM/FM.
It's weird. It's
Why does it sound so jank on the weather band, but yet the freaking AM/FM is like, it's like nothing happened.
I mean, with the static on the AM/FM band, it sounds like a beast is like letting out his final cry. Cause what the fuck?
For real. Like it literally sounds like a freaking. Like it sounded like someone left their dying child inside the freaking manufacturing mill, and the radio was just made of that child's remains. That's how bad it is.
It's made of the ashes.
The ashes and the crushed up bones. But Jesus Christ, this thing drives me up a freaking wall.
Yep.
And the antenna, that's like a minuscule complaint compared to everything else is just fucking wrong on this radio. Like, good God. I don't know what White-Westinghouse was thinking when they made this. They should have used a freaking better quality weather band tuning crystal, for real.
For real.
Part of me wants them to just skip the build quality entirely and just say, fuck it, let's go to the final thoughts, but Michael will probably have my ass if I don't do it, so...
Build quality. Go.
The build quality. It's a piece of shit. Okay, nah, for real though. This thing is just like... I will give it this. The screen on this does look somewhat decent. It reminds me of those, like I said, it reminds me of those freaking stereotypical bedside clock radios that you had like in the 1990s and early 2000s. I will give it that. But everything else is just like no. It makes me want to shoot off my balls and feed the remains of Microsoft Mike. And yeah, maybe he'll actually have a manly voice for once because he's eating balls. For real. Oh my God. But
like the transition like right here is just, oh my God, it's so ugly.
That freaking panel gap, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on this side too. It's like, no, why does this exist?
For real.
The plastic on this just, It's more hollow than my future. The switch is like probably the only redeeming quality of this. The buttons, the snooze button feels like this radio's gonna fall apart just by.
The plastic is hollower than Blue Bolt's reasons to have multiples of radios.
Yes. like let's have multiple WX68s and multiple WX500s. Save some for the rest of us, you hog. Maybe stop choking on that dick every once in a while. But yeah, I really do not like the way this thing is built. Like, the screen is like the only saving grace. The plastic is hollow as shit. The buttons, like, just pressing them, it feels like the radio's gonna, like, internally combust. The switch is, like, semi-decent. The fucking weather band crystal on this thing makes me want to commit a bunch of freaking war crimes. Like, no, I do not like this at all. I just want to get into the final thought so I can just end this trauma that I am experiencing.
Final thoughts.
Your reaction pretty much just summarized my thoughts on this radio. It's just like, this thing gives me literal trauma and I don't even own one.
Yeah.
Part of me just wants to like buy one of these for myself just to see how if it's really this bad from the factory. Because if it was really sent out with the weather band crystal as bad as it is, like, this thing is just not even reliable. Like, the only thing this would be good for is like a freaking bedside alarm clock, and that's it.
This thing does not work as a weather radio in all factors because of how garbage the reception is, how sensitive the radio is to like other electronics around it. Like, it's worse than the WX37 somehow. And even then, I respect the radio because, like, you know, it's one of the rarest things an EAS enthusiast can own. But yeah, I have to bash it because the sensitiveness to
Sensitivity to other electronics, yeah.
Yeah, sensitivity. But this is somehow much fucking worse, and that pains me. It pains me that I just can't. It's impossible to use this as a weather radio. You can only really use it as a stereotypical bedside clock thing.
Or like just for AM and FM, but you can't really use this for weather unless the only reason I could suggest maybe using this as like a bedside radio is if like a bedside weather radio is if the tuning crystal on this is just defective and the other ones are just good. That's the only reason I could probably justify it, because if the tuning crystal on all these is as bad as this one, and those of you who actually own this, leave a comment down below and just tell us how your experience with this radio is. But if the tuning crystal on this one is as bad as the other ones out there, I don't know how this made it off the assembly line as it is.
Yeah, I've self-activated this thing before on channel 2, and it responded to all the 1050 hertz tones just fine. It's just on NWR, it doesn't respond to any of the alerts that gets issued, which is so weird. How can a radio like only activate whenever it's like whenever you're like trying to test out if the thing actually works? It's that bad.
Yeah, this thing is so fucking bad. I just want to commit war crimes just seeing this thing. But
yep. So to conclude this episode, we can safely say that this radio has hepatitis L. So
hepatitis L.
So it loses all aspects of credibility.
For real. Like, honestly.
But yeah, that is the White-Westinghouse WCR11570. It's a shit radio, or a shit weather radio. It really only has a decent use as a bedside clock.
Do not
buy this as a weather radio. You will be fucking let down, like I was.
Yeah, and this concludes this episode of Radio Reviews. like, comment, subscribe to these jackasses here, Doomblaze 1996 and Kid LX. And I don't even feel like doing the outro. I just want to get this episode done. I'm sorry, but I gotta
He's
get
living in total pain right now. Just agony.
Traumatized.
See you guys in the next episode, whenever the fuck that'll be.